at it again.
Yeah.
Back at it again. Oh boy. Hey y'all, we know it's been a minute. A lot has happened. If you've been following on the gram, obviously you see that we all got some new hardware, including some new last names. But we're back. We are back in action. We're moving back in action. And we are continuing, finishing, yes, our Bridgerton review. And we're going to do things a little bit differently. We know that some channels and some people review full episodes, episode by episode, and things like that. Hey, how are you? But we decided that we're going to do, for series, we're going to do the first 4 episodes, and then however many is after that, we're just going to sum it up for y'all. And then for movies, we're going to do the whole movie, obviously, and take it from there. And so this is Bridgerton. We loved Bridgerton. We're about to finish Bridgerton. And if you don't know me, I'm Jason. I'm actually Jason Kakpo-Moore now. So, things change. But this is my lovely wife. Right.
That will be me.
And she's a Kakpo-Moore too.
I am a Kakpo-Moore, a proud Kakpo-Moore.
So yeah, here we go. Y'all ready?
All right, we got the tech thing ready.
Good.
Last few times we didn't put the title, what's happening, but we've revamped and decided we'll do better at doing this thing from what we're doing. Hi. But yeah, what did you think of it?
Oh,
as the whole season.
I mean, the whole thing. How everybody doing? Again, I thought it was an amazing series. I still believe it's one of the best series and television shows on Netflix right now that you can watch during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the acting was spectacular, superb. Just picking up from episode 4, I think you just expanded on the journey of Daphne and the Duke, and you saw, obviously they're the main focus of the entire show. You know what I'm saying? Like, you understand that they're the focus. And
I mean, it's called Bridgerton. Her last name is Bridgerton.
Right. But not anymore. She's not a Bridgerton anymore.
Oh yeah, that is true. She's
I don't know, Hastings.
Yeah, there we go.
She's a Hastings.
Yes.
But other than that, I think one of the things that I pulled away from the remaining episodes was when she finally made it to where the Duke, or at least one of the houses where he lived, she was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen nothing this big. Like, it's bigger than her house in London, and that was cool seeing that. But also her having to understand her roles and conforming to her roles, and how she had to now be the Duchess, not just in title, but in everything that she did, and everything that she was doing, and everything that she brought to the table. And I think one of the first big missteps that she made, and she thought she was making a good thing, was when she decided, okay, well, everybody wins the pig thing, and that wasn't necessarily the right move, because she didn't understand that even though the Duke is essentially the mayor, and he's kind of the person who handles the oversights and everything that goes on in that town, because he had been away for so long, he didn't necessarily understand that, the town that he governed had been struggling. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say it was on his last legs, but it was definitely having some severe sickness. So, with him coming back, that caused tension, and that caused differences, because you have one person who's, Daphne, she's used to a very giving, a very loving, a very kind, almost utopian kind of out of home and house. Hey, how you doing? And things of that nature. But the Duke, he obviously is the opposite. He doesn't come from that. You know what I'm saying? He comes from a place of survival. You know what I'm saying? He comes from a place of, I've learned how to do things for myself, by myself, with the help of others, naturally, like Lady Danbury and others who've came along. But essentially, he's created his own self, his own agenda, his own personality out of what he was left and what he was given. And so you see that in the two bringings of the world. And I think that became even more evident as Daphne and his name is Simon, but I just like calling him the Duke. I just think that's cooler. But you know, as they decided, when she actually found out that he could have a child, right? That I think that was the big theme of the entire season 1, was finding out that yes, he could have a child. He just chose not to, right? And he chose not to because back in that day, hey everybody, how y'all doing? The code of the day was honor. Everything was honor. Mm-hmm. Like you worked on your honor, you lived by your honor, you dreamt, slept, did everything with your honor, right? And if you made a bond or a vow on someone's deathbed, for example, as he did with his father, then it was like, okay, well, you know, I have to keep this to the end of my days, right? And that was kind of the understanding that he had. And because the Duke had seen a selfish love growing up, he hadn't understood that just because what happened to you doesn't have to become the other person's reality, or the person that you love reality, or you don't have to repeat the mistakes, right? Or you don't have to repeat the mistakes of your father. Essentially, you know what I mean?
You are not your father,
right? You're not your father. Reverse Star Wars. So what happened? Eventually, they started to drift apart. Daphne and the Duke, they started to drift apart because she obviously, you know, as you know, most wives do, especially during that time, she wanted to be married. I mean, she wanted to have children. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to have children, and she genuinely had fell in love with the Duke. So that was an added plus, because we understand that. I mean, even today, that's like you in love.
That's a plus.
Like you really in love and you married?
You sure?
How you do that? Where you do that at? You know what I mean? So that was also uncommon, and so that was the big struggle, trying for her to understand his perspective and understand why it meant so much to him to not have children. And then eventually you get and I feel like this is in every romantic love story, and I love it. I think it's great. It's a great trope. But you get we have to have one person in the rain, and then the other person has to come to the rain, and they either have to dance, or they have to laugh, or they have to kiss in the rain.
Everything is just more romanticized in the rain. The rain makes everything better.
It does. I don't deny that the rain makes everything better.
You know the song, Can You Stand the Rain? It's like, if you can stand the rain.
I mean, again, clearly that was playing in the background. Exactly. So, you know, it was great because they had that moment in the rain. So that's basically their story is done. As you know, if you've seen the series, obviously spoilers if you haven't seen the series. I mean, the series has been out for what, 2 months now, something like that.
Maybe December, 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months. So the series has been out for 3 months. If you've not seen Bridgerton, I feel sorry. I feel bad for you. Go watch it. Go be great and amazing.
And the second season coming out, so be ready for that.
Exactly. Shonda's not gonna leave us hanging.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
She never does.
So that basically finishes their arc, right? And then we see that with Colin and Marina, they were extremely close to making things official. And for the life of me, I wish Marina had just told him the truth. Like, I was literally in my head. Because she's the more one. She'll scream at the TV and be all vocal and be like, "Hey, oh my gosh, did you see this? Do you know what happened?" Oh my, like, and I'm just like,
and that's why I'm better at home watching than movie theater, because movie theater I can't do that as much. I actually try to be respectful. I don't know if I succeed, but I try.
Let me tell y'all something. All right, back when the movie theaters were open, you know what I'm saying? That is the second thing that I missed the most from the pandemic. Just
the gym and movie theater.
The gym and the movie theater.
Yeah.
This one would always why are you screaming at the screen?
I'm dead.
Like, she's so invested.
It's how you guys feel when you watch sports or you video gamers, where you play video game where you're just so in it. That's how I feel when I watch it.
That's your video game.
Yeah.
Your move.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I understand. See, perspective. So, to getting back to Colin and Marina, again, in my head and her out loud, I was screaming like, just tell this man that you have a kid. And again, we understand that back in that day, it was like you would have to be in the 1% of men who genuinely did not care if a woman was already pregnant and had a child, especially coming from a man who had means. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like if he was, some homeless homie on the street,
or somebody that the ladies don't want, like the case of the men that the lady of the house wanted to match her up with. So it's essentially like you will only accept a woman who's already have a child from another man or is impregnated by another man if you don't have any other options. Essentially, if you're like desperate, that's the only situations. You won't see like Collins, like a young man with options doing something like that. You have to really have the heart for it and really love this woman to do that.
And I think if we, because a lot of times I know in different avenues, probably like Senna does all the time, you probably look up the actor's actual age and how old they are and things like that. But I think in this medium, the reason they were so opposed to Colin being married so young, I think he was only like supposed to be like maybe 18, 19, 20. I wouldn't put it past 23, but he was the baby, and they were like, in that day, it wasn't uncommon for a much older man to marry a younger, I mean, like 18, 19, 20, I mean, even younger, you know what I'm saying? Because at that time, marriage was just different in terms of age, you know what I mean? So, as it would turn out, Colin ended up finding out that she had the baby and that she essentially lied. You know what I'm saying? That was the big thing. Like, if she hadn't lied, they could have worked out. But in a twist, she kind of, Marina ended up having a happy-ish ending. You know what I'm saying? Because the brother of the man who impregnated her, he came and was like, yo, I want to marry you. I want to take care of you. I want to, treat you like you're supposed to be treated. And he at first, Marina was like, nah, I'm good. I'm straight. I'm going to just be out here in these streets and, doing my thing, raising my kid, right? Single moms all day long.
No, she only did that. Well, at the time when she declined the marriage proposal, she had thought that the portion she made at home to get rid of the pregnancy had worked. Remember? She thought it had worked because she's like, well, if it hadn't worked, I would have felt the baby moving by now. Back then, they don't have ultrasound or any of that to see what the state of pregnancy is. So, but then later on, towards the end of the episode or season, she realized that, oh shoot, the baby kicked again. Then they went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, you really thought the home portion was gonna do it? So she learned, okay, I'm still pregnant. And of course, back in the days, it's not like you have you can go work or anything like that. Single motherhood is very much less probable back then, since women didn't work for the most part, and so especially women in her stature or like class or what have you. And so she was like, well, I suppose I will get married.
Yeah. So that was kind of the end of her story. Then you see Anthony, the oldest of the Bridgerton children, right? He tried to get back with Senna, I believe her name is something like that, Sienna or something like that. And what ended up happening was she had already found somebody who loved her for her. You know what I'm saying? Now they did their whole little, oh, you back in my life, I'm gonna smash one time for one time. You know what I'm saying? Like, been there, done that. And so they went through that phase, and now he understood the value of these titles and who you are, and thank you, bro. And what you're about doesn't matter. It's about who you love. It's about what that person brings to the table. It's about how can that person make me feel, right? And again, back in that day, that really didn't matter. Like it didn't get like.
Class and
I mean,
to this day, to some degree,
it is. It was like, I mean, again, it wasn't uncommon, and I know it was open for the men, but I'm sure it was the same way for the women to say, okay, look, if you got a side chick, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing. Have your side chick, things like that. Just make sure you come home, right? But if for him, it would almost be like, I don't know if you guys like follow international news or whatever, But you understand, like, say the British, British royals, right? Things like that, or even anywhere, right? But British is the one that we know over here in America. But anyway, if somebody from the royal family marries somebody who's not royal, right? Then they may keep their title, but they necessarily don't have the same succession to the throne, or they don't necessarily have that same authority that they once did. And so it was kind of that same way for him. Was he wouldn't necessarily he would be Lord Bridgerton because his father had passed away, but it wouldn't carry the same weight. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't carry the same authority because he was married to somebody who was beneath him. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so because that was the case, he always, for the entirety of the run of the season, was trying to figure out and say, okay, dang, should I not? Should I not? Should I not? You know what I mean? And when he finally came to the realization that he should, as most times, if you wait too late, somebody gonna come in and scoop your plate. You dig what I'm saying? But I believe that. All right, so that's the end of that arc. The other one, we saw that. What's that girl's name?
Who, Big Yellow Girl?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to put the other one. Eloise. There you go. Eloise, my favorite. I'm sorry, Eloise. I love you to pieces. But anyway, we saw that Eloise had finally, at least to some degree, she was about to figure out who Lady Whistledown was. She was so close. She was so ready. She was like, I'm about to make it happen. And then, to everyone's kind of surprise, kind of not surprised, she decided that, no, I don't want to know. I don't want your secret to be found out because you are such an inspiration to me. Now, I do believe that maybe if Shonda is going to do things like I believe she's going to do things, probably by season 3 or season 4, Eloise will find out who Lady Whistledown is. And for those who don't know, Lady Whistledown is the youngest Featherington child. She's dope. She's an amazing writer. But again, at that time, women especially weren't acknowledged for the work that they did. They weren't acknowledged for the thoughts and the processes that they produced. It was almost the same way that and it's interesting. And here's the thing for those who study history or like history like me, right? I wonder if Shonda is going to hit on slavery, right? Because this is during the time when American slavery is happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't something, if it's based in the world, like she's basing it in London, you know what I'm saying? I know London has abolished the slave trade before America did, but I wonder if she's going to bring that up. And here's the reason why I say that. Because, again, even though women, especially women from higher families and things like that, had status, they still didn't have the right to say, well, this is mine. Mm-hmm. The same way that a slave in America didn't have any humanity. You know what I'm saying? So and we know that during that time, slaves produced the cotton gin, and they produced different instruments to better and make work easier, for example, right? Mm-hmm. But again, they weren't given the credit because you were somebody's property. You know what I'm saying? You were somebody's money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what you were. You know what I mean? So I wonder if she's going to hit on that. And if she does hit on that, here's my pre-prediction. I think that may be one of the ventures that Colin ends up going on, and he comes back and he's changed because he sees that the rest of the world isn't like London. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, we just said that he was going on a trip. We don't know how long this trip will be. We don't know what.
And he's so innocent and
right.
Kind-hearted.
Right. And again, and then and the only other reason I say she might not hit on the slavery thing, because in her world, all of the world may be integrated like it is in London.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like she may be like, okay, this is the integration, this is the way that it works, and so on and so forth, right? So, that's an interesting piece. The last bit that I saw and I thought was kind of true to character, and I'm pretty sure it happened, was Lady Danbury threw like a big giant soiree for all the ladies who were married, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, we're married, we get away from our husbands and things like that. And I think it pulled back the curtain on what a lot of people believed or thought about what high society was and what happened in that time in that day, because for the most part, as it was said, some couples slept in different rooms. Like, say you have a 2-bedroom apartment, right? Your husband slept in one room, your wife slept in another room. You know what I'm saying? Or if you had a situation like the artist, he talks about, him being a homosexual character, right? Things like that. He wasn't even allowed to, be with the person that he truly loved and wanted to be with, right? And things like that. He couldn't do that during that time because it wasn't the norm unless he was at his party and things like that. But he had a wife, and it wasn't like he was treating her bad or anything like that. They both had came to an agreement that, we just don't have that type of relationship. You know what I mean? But she threw this party, and in this party, you saw the women really let their hair down and show their authority and almost have that sense of masculinity that Eloise strived and drive for. So I wouldn't be surprised as seasons progress if Eloise ends up finding out about these soirees and parties and things of that nature, to see like, oh, this is what ladies really do, and you can do this and you can do that, and so on and so on. Are there any other, really major details? The boxer, that was a great. I loved the how they ended his arc, because again, as I said before, honor meant everything. But when his honor was on the line and he had a chance to improve himself, he didn't care about the loss. He cared about proving and improving his station, because he didn't come from, or he didn't inherit, as we heard in the previous episodes, the wealth that came with the integration of society. He was still considered, and I even would think Lord Featherington, when he was alive, because he did die, told him, your grandfather was a slave. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. So I don't know if he had been a slave in England or if he had been a slave in America. So that's the only reason I keep harping on that point.
Yeah, but the thing is, speaking of honor, and I like the line he said, it's like, is honor not being able to provide for your family? Because it's all about perception. And on one way, you can say, yeah, honor is not purposefully losing for money. Yeah, okay, that's one way. But to a married man who wants to make sure his wife and children are fed and well taken care of, where they can have some level of some things that they want, not just barely getting by, and he's presented with means to do that without necessarily compromising you can say he's compromising his honor, but he's not harming anyone. It's not like he's being asked to kill someone or being asked to steal from someone. You know what I mean? He's in a position when he's not hurting anyone by losing the game. So in that situation, it's like, you gotta define honor for yourself, and honor. One person's honor is another person's dishonor. It just, you define it for yourself and you pick it up, you're okay with it, and you move on. And that's what he essentially ended up saying and doing. It's like, no, at this situation in my life, honor for me is being able to provide for my family, and this is gonna allow me to do that. So
and it was great to see, the choice that he made. And I think that's the one of the takeaways, at least from the writing perspective, that you see, at least in Shonda's writing. Your choices, define the way these characters move throughout her series. And it was a great thing to see, he bought the diamond chain for his wife, and they bought a new dress, and he brought nicer clothes and things like that. And even though it may, people may look down, as Cinna said, about the way that he did it, it didn't matter, because none of them were giving him handouts. None of them were, not handouts, but helping him, supporting him, giving him campaigns as he was boxing. And like his wife said, earlier throughout the series, you can't box forever. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't get your head beat in forever, or you can't dodge them all. There's gonna come around a time and someone that'll be better. You know what I'm saying? It always happens.
And then how we're gonna eat, and then then you're gonna look back and be like, dang, that honor is not serving me in anything now. It's about looking into the future. So that was...
And the only thing I was a little bit concerned about, I was just worried if Lord Featherington was going to actually give him the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the only thing I was worried about, because when you're in that position and you already have the prestige, you don't have to, because who would believe the boxer over Lord Featherington? You know what I'm saying? And then if they found out that he purposely rigged the fight, you know, it was like, oh well, I want my money back. This and that, so on and so on. You know what I mean? So.
I think he had more to lose than if he was actually keeping his words, because in that place in time, Lord Featherington, while he was still keeping the class level that he had in society, not really behind the doors, because many folks have known already that he owes folks that he ain't able to pay. His family was having trouble paying for the dresses, so yeah, he's still a lord and he's still in that class in society, but he's already to a point where he's almost at the edge of losing that class. So he doesn't have that much weight as, you know, say the Bridgerton, or as before he started owning a whole lot of people that he can't pay back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I when you were talking about that, I thought about Lady Featherington, because it kind of ends on two notes. It ends with, you know, with her husband being dead. Now somebody has to come in and essentially be the husband now, marry her and things like that, take care of the family. That was one of the last scenes that happened, and I think it's like her brother, or I mean not her brother, but his brother or something like that is coming to fill that role, because it's a house full of ladies, and as we said at that time, it just wasn't uncommon. Now I don't know if in season 2 Shonda will be like, okay, let's push her arc to where she's trying to actively find someone, because as we know, during that day, once, when you were already married, that means you're not a virgin anymore. 2, she was an older lady. Let's just give her 40 something. You know what I'm saying? So that's not necessarily young anymore. And 3, you know, she already has, I won't say debts, but things that need to be taken care of.
She has a lot of baggage.
Right, she has baggage. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that Marina and her, they had their reconnection, and they had that moment, because Marina asked her, you know, how do you marry somebody that you don't love, right? And I think this is very true today, and I think this is Shonda just writing real from the heart, you know what I'm saying? And experiences that she's, you know, gathered, is that she said, you know, if you're not in love, you find pieces to love. You know what I mean? And I believe that's not just for marriage, but I think that's in any relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like in context of romanticism. You know what I'm saying? Let's put it that way. You know, if you aren't in love with the person, you find things to love. I think this is how relationships last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You find something to love, because let's go back to even today, but especially back in the day when people had arranged marriages, like, you didn't see the person until your wedding day. You know what I'm saying? And like, let's say, just for giggles, that this person, you know, snored. If this person snored, you don't like snoring, what you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're married, and at that time, it just as it is today, you know, divorce just wasn't the day.
Yeah.
Like, it but like, you got divorced.
But
why? For who? For what?
What you mean?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally believe that's it. I think that's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
No, I mean that you touch on everything. That's the gist of it for me as well. But I'm excited to see season 2, and take it off from there. Our next thing is we have a couple options. We're either going to do Mama Rainey's Black Bottom, or we're going to do Lupin, or we are thinking about doing One Night in Miami. So one of those 3 are going to come your way. Obviously, we have way more, because so many phenomenal Black actors, writers, producers, directors are putting out so much content right now, especially during the pandemic. Which is great, because we love it. We love
right,
to see it.
right. We love to see it. So check us out, obviously, on here live to get more of that. We're trying to get down a day. We haven't figured out the exact day of when we want to do this, so we can't give y'all like, stay tuned right here, you know, we'll be here, but we're working on it, because again, for those who joined later and may not watch this, we did just get married, so you know, we're trying to figure out that marriage, work, life balance, and things of that nature. So bear with us because this is important. Like we're not trying to put this off for any reason, for anything like that, because we love doing it. We love having this time to connect and build and things of that nature with you all, but also with each other.